right. So Torrian,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great this morning. Had a little frantic moment this morning. It's just, a constant state of the ADHD world, but I
Mhm.
got a little flow going, so I'm in a good place now.
Me too. It's exact. Honestly, I had the same thing because my son had soccer this morning, and since
Mm,
then it's been chaotic. But he's on his iPad. My other one is sleeping, so it's like chill time. So we can do this. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the viewers.
for sure, for sure. So my name is Torrian Timms. I call myself your favorite sister with ADHD, but I am the founder of a space called Sistas with ADHD. Founded that in, wow, time flies, 2022. I created a space for Black women that centers Black women's ADHD experiences. I do that work. I'm also a neurodivergent affirming educator. I work within the public education sector, which is going through a lot of shifts and changes now as well. And other than that, I'm just a regular old girl learning how to live life and navigate my life with ADHD.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. You caught my eye on Instagram, of course. And for me, it was just how genuine, down to earth, because everyone's using the word authentic now, but it's
Yeah.
weird. Like you don't really see people being themselves. So the way where you relate, you make us laugh, cry, all everything in between. So that's why you caught my eye personally, and I followed you.
And I'm so glad you did.
So as you know, I have ADHD myself. I've been looking to create a community for support for neurodivergent and also anyone with ADHD or any sort of like struggles, disorder, things like that. But I just wanted to know a few things about you and then also your insights on, ADHD. So are you ready for the questions?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So question number one, what unique challenges do Black girls with ADHD face in receiving a diagnosis and support? And how does your advocacy directly address these specific hurdles?
That's a great question. It's a lot of push towards getting to the capital, getting to the money, right? And so because of that, you learn to be twice as good. You learn to be twice as smart, twice as funny, twice as charismatic. And it's like when we come into the room, it's just like a force, right? And I think we developed that very early in age. Also, I think being praised for being smart and being intelligent and being quick and inept to pick up on things. I feel like there's a little bit of adultification in there. And so because of that praise, I think even that can be a level of a dopamine push for us. And I'm laying all of that foundation to come back and say, you do finally get to the doctor, when you get to that breaking point and you see something is a little off, something's a little quirky, and you finally do make it to the doctor and you push through all the red tape and all things, and you finally face to face with a practitioner who's going to let you know if you can finally get the support you need. They're leaning back on how much you've achieved along the way. And they know you never had a choice. If we don't, we're homeless or destitute. And we've seen that too. We've seen the other side of ADHD where people can't really push through it all. But most, I would say, I'm not gonna say most because I don't have any like numbers to confirm that, but a lot of ADHD women that I meet are high achieving and or were. They might have burnt out. And so I think some of the challenges are the fact that we are successful, that we are dope, that we are going to show up and be a shift and a force in the room, are intelligent. And so a lot of times people, because we are not because we don't necessarily identify with the stereotype of ADHD person, right? A lot of times people can't meet our successes and the robustness and the fullness of our presence with us also having a disability or a different neurotype.
Just listed challenges are being high achieving, is something that we have to combat in order to be recognized as having ADHD. Stereotypes that we have makes it really difficult to be able to attribute, this Black girl has ADHD because, we can be outgoing, we can be loud, it's just the stereotype make it harder to be like, okay, well, something else is wrong. that person needs. It's just, oh, that's just the way that it is. So you
Right.
could have stated those, but I love the scenic route that you took because it gives us a little bit of background into why that is, the why.
And I think that's just like my educator background right there, is because I think a lot of times when we speak about things, we speak about them in isolation, and all things are connected. Like,
Yeah.
Black girls are not high achieving because we're just born Black girls. I know we like to say Black girl magic, which I love and hate that at the same time. These are learned behaviors, socialized behaviors for our survival.
No, it's true. That's right on. And I was going to say the second part of the question, how does your advocacy directly address these specific hurdles that you mentioned?
One of the first things when I first started Sistas with ADHD, and I was just kind of like in hyper focus mode, like I am no different from any other Black woman who gets an idea, a spark, and we just take off. Like, that's really how Sistas with ADHD was born. Now I got to learn how to raise my baby. But one of the very first things I wanted to use was language. I think that language, especially here, well, really anywhere, but languages are a huge part of culture. And so one of the first things that I wanted to do was to pull my audience in by how I was speaking. So from the way that I spell sisters, it's Sistas. And so that's going to be aligned to the African-American vernacular English, or Ebonics, if you will. I spell, and everybody's like, why don't you just put sisters? I'm like, I'm not talking to just sisters.
Yeah.
Who I'm talking to is going to find me because of how I'm talking. And so I feel like the first piece of advocacy was language, because language was going to represent inclusion. It means like you're included here, and I'm going to center your story here. And the next thing I wanted to look at was, how is the ADHD showing up in our homes, in our lives? And one of my first posts that did really well was one that I talked about hair care. And I looked at hair care, and I looked at what hair care with ADHD could look like while you're trying to deal with executive dysfunction. And it was just one of the things that kind of came to me because, like, my hair is locked, right? And I got to the point where I was kind of bored with my locks, and I was like, oh my God, I want to cut them. And then it hit me like a freight train. I was like, you're locked because you have ADHD. I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like, my hair being locked took so much of the heavy lifting of Black hair care because of respectability politics, because of somebody telling us that it's too kinky, that's too nappy. We're trying to be in these corporate spaces, these C-suite spaces. So our hair, Black women spend so much time, money, and energy on our hair. So imagine if you can't just naturally be like, what if you have executive dysfunction and you literally cannot do that every day? You get what I'm saying? So I just think that my biggest advocacy, my biggest way that I show up for people is inclusivity. Is to let them know that the conversation is within them too, and just really connecting culture to how things are showing up in different cultures.
So thank you for that. So the second question, what impact do you hope your content has on the lives of Black girls with ADHD and their family? And then again, it's two parts. So what impact do you hope to have? And then the second part of the question is, can you think of and share a specific story or outcome that really resonated with you?
For sure. Oh, yeah. I want my impact to be that we normalize the condition. Often a story that I tell, and it's so interesting that these questions are, I'm so glad you did this interview with me because it's almost kind of like reigniting my purpose. But I want my impact to be that we normalize the condition, and not just normalize it, and that we start to accept it into our communities. I think a lot of times the neurodivergent girl, and I'm using the umbrella of neurodivergent because it's a lot of us. It's the autistic girl, the ADHD girl, the bipolar disorder girl. There's so many conditions that I think have been othered, even within our own communities. But in order for us to really be successful, we're going to need everybody. And so when I did my TED Talk, one of the biggest things I talked about is how I feel like neurodivergent people are fulfilling a niche within their communities or within the world. And I think that people who are neurodivergent come with a special set of gifts. Everybody's gifts are different, but they're very niche gifts that we need to drive our communities forward. And if we continue to other them, then that means that we're consistently doing things the same way, and nobody's offering any divergent thought or thinking to the collective. That's a problem. That means that one issue can wipe us all out.
Yeah.
So my impact is that I want us to be inclusive, accepting, and to lean on the strengths of those individuals. But if we beat them down so early, they never get to actualize who they really are and what they can offer the world.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what your content does at this point. So the fact it's like, what do you hope, and you're working to actually, you're doing it already. And that's why I was drawn to your material. Yeah, before you went to the second part, as far as a story, you mentioned something that you've had to work on something. Where did that come from? Where, like, was there something that kind of initiated that? Where did it come from, the fact that you worked at essentially accepting yourself, essentially at like finding these quirks about yourself and letting that empower you? Was it a family member that inspired you? Was it something that happened that you're like, you know what, that's it? Or have you always been that way?
I think the first thought, like the first time the thought or the word acceptance even came into the picture for me was when I read the book. And I think this is actually one of your questions like later on, but I read the book Women with ADHD. I'm going off the top of my head. I think it's called Women with ADHD, The Guide to Radical Acceptance.
Okay.
And I read that bad boy now 3 years ago. And I almost want to reread it. That was the first time that I ever read, even with all of these flaws, or what you have called flaws, even with all these challenges you're having, you do get to accept and love yourself anyway. That was the first time I even read the concept. Now, it is one thing to know, it is another to do. So it really has been a journey for me because the way I have accepted has evolved. And it's evolving in real time. Like, I'm actually going through this right now. I think my acceptance on the beginning of my journey was more of like, this is just who you are. You have ADHD, and these are the things that people with ADHD struggle with. And I need to keep that part, but I also have to nurture this is just who you are. This is how ADHD shows up. That is important, but here is what you will do to work around the struggles because you love yourself.
So going on to the second part of the question, that one I'm sure is going to resonate with a lot of people, but any specific story?
I think one that comes to me is like, so I do my content for adult women, and like, yes, I have the vision to like create little sisters with ADHD and teenage sisters with ADHD, kind of like chicken soup for the soul. Yeah, I got it, but I haven't made it yet. But it has been really interesting to watch men that perhaps I went to school with or college with or whatever reach out to me because women that they love, whether they're daughters or spouses or girlfriends at the time, mothers, also have ADHD. And so I had one guy in particular, he was like, hey, he said, I be ghost watching your content all the time. This guy I went to school with, very successful guy in my city as well. And he was like, and my daughter has ADHD. He was like, and I've learned so much about how she shows up by looking at your content. And that moment made me cry. It almost was about to make me cry again, because I remember being a little Black girl and feeling so misunderstood, and not just being misunderstood, being punished for things that I didn't.
Yes.
Like, now I can say I didn't really know how to control. I really didn't have it in my toolkit. And so it was really good to know that even though I am making my content for a certain community, it is leaking out and helping others. Even, you know, I don't think I want to ghost it. Like, I'm a woman of faith, and I feel like God will like literally like sideswipe me and be like, nope, something directly related to it would be like, no, you're blessing people. Like, this ain't even about you, sis.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to get to. I'm like, oh, you think it's about you? Ego. You watch out. You're on assignment right now.
Interesting. Yeah. I have that part where the ADHD is so full blown, and I'm like, I'll help you. I'll show up to help you move all over. But then it hits, and sometimes I just want to ghost, right? What you just said, though, is not something I've thought about. It's not even about me. It's about them. So if I give up and I stop, I'm letting them down. It has nothing to do with, so wow.
God has selected you. God has selected you to free other people through your testimony, through your story, through your support, your service, whatever it is that he's put on your heart to do. And if you consulted with him about it and that thing keeps coming back, it is a good thing because it's a God thing.
That's right. So with the third question, what are some of the most common myths or stereotype? I think we touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the most common myths or stereotype about ADHD in Black girls that you actively work to debunk? And
so I work in education. A lot of what I do for women comes from me seeing kids with ADHD. Okay. So like, because I see what the struggles in young girls look like, especially young Black girls, I can follow that trajectory to womanhood, and I'll see where, I'll see where it comes from. And so I think a lot of times Black girls have what you call a lot of verve. But verve is the ability to have a lot of vigor, spirit, or enthusiasm. And a lot of times that shows up in how we express ourselves. Like when I talk, I'm this, I'm moving my hand, we doing all that. And so we're here, and it's a part of our communication style. A lot of times, and I think neurodivergent girls have it even more because we have the hyperactivity, right? So it's all the movements like this. And I've seen that be punished and policed in spaces. So when I'm showing up in meetings and C-suite spaces and in admin rooms and offices, I think a lot of times my ability to be a good communicator is actually used against me. Like this is a neurodivergent gift, but it's used against me to say that I'm being aggressive or I'm being too much. You know what I mean? So you really have to learn how to read the room in a sense. I'm not saying dim your light, but you have to understand how people are going to choose to see you. So I think one myth is just our ability to be good communicators, no matter how we're communicating, because communication is not just talking. And see our pastors being excellent communicators, right? And so, and we see it in barbershops, we see it in beauty shops, we see it everywhere. But in certain spaces, and that's frowned, people are going to frown upon that. I think another thing is, what other myths do I feel like? That you can't be an avid reader and smart and also have ADHD. A lot of times kids get diagnosed with ADHD because they're struggling in school. So maybe they're having a hard time focusing in class. But a lot of the ADHD journey for girls, I've heard, not for all, but because there are 3 different subtypes. So I'm not saying all girls have this, but a lot of girls and women, regardless of color, socioeconomic background, you have inattentive, you have combined type, and you have hyperactive. We can see the hyperactive pretty easily. Those are the kids that are spinning all over the place, right? But the inattentive type typically are inward with their hyperactivity. The hyperactivity to me is still there, but it's just not on full-blown display. So a lot of times, girls and women who have that inattentive type are going inward, and they typically are able to learn very quickly. And so you're going to be smart because you're getting your dopamine from reading or whatever, what have you. So I think a lot of times people think that because you're smart and probably high achieving, that you can't also be struggling with your mental health. So I think a lot of times people have a hard time seeing smart, high achieving women also struggle with things like keeping their kitchen clean, doing their laundry, keeping up with bills, getting their car maintenance. Like all those things, to me, they're not synonymous. I can read a book and I can write a cold college paper and I can teach it and I can be a professor in a class. I don't know where my last oil change was, and I don't want to know.
But I was that way. I think I'm combined because I'm definitely out here and extra and all of the things, right? I hear it every day. Since I was a child, you're extra, too much, you're loud, you won't stop talking. But at the same time, I have times where I'm not down, I'm more quiet, but then it is going in. So me, for an example, back in Africa, I skipped 2 grades. And then when I came here in the USA, I skipped another grade. So the smart was there. But as you said, as I grew up, it's not that I got less smart, but it just dwindled, right? Based on everything I'm hearing from other people. And then I start working in corporate America. And then my performance reviews are saying, oh, she talks, even though the achievement is there and I'm building community and connection at work, she talks too much, she's too distracted, she's this. So like, it's that stereotype, or you can't have it, you can't be struggling if you're achieving all these things. So that's a big one, I think. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. So how do you foster And I know that answer because you foster it in me. How do you foster a sense of belonging and empowerment within your online community for Black girls with ADHD? And then what roles do your followers play in shaping your advocacy?
I think one of the first things off the top is just like the language that we use, the cultural, what do you call that? We do a lot of like I try to bring in pop culture. I try to bring in like Black culture. I try to bring in like African culture. I try to make sure that the language says you're welcome here. I try to let the content and the subject matter be things that I know that Black women are probably struggling with. Mm-hmm. And then what way does my community help me? That's actually where I had to shift, because for a long time I was a one-woman show. Mm-hmm.
And then the last official question, and I'll follow up with some for closing, but the last question is what's one piece of advice you would give to a young Black girl who suspects that she has ADHD? And then what are your hopes for the future ADHD advocacy within the Black community? I feel like you answered that second one, but little young Black girl, what would you tell her if she feels like she might have it?
If you feel like you might have it, you're validated, you probably do.
Yeah.
Now that you know that you do, mm-hmm. I want you to know that you're enough, mm-hmm. that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, mm-hmm. and that even in all of your shortcomings and the things that you think that you're not doing well and all the mistakes that you made, that you're loved anyway.
Yeah.
Never shrink because people cannot fit you in some type of box. Mm-hmm. So you're validated. You probably do have ADHD, baby. Start accepting it right now.
Yeah. Accepted. Look for your group, your support, your community. Seek help if needed. And then what are your hopes for the future of ADHD advocacy within the Black community? So not necessarily an advocacy that you're doing, but what are your hopes in general for that in the Black community, the future?
I did kind of mention this earlier, but I'm gonna bring it back around. I really want us to understand that we need our entire community.
Yes.
We need the smartest of the smart. Mm-hmm. We need the ones that we think that we've written off because maybe they are differently abled. Mm-hmm. We need those that are in the LGBT community. We need everyone. We need disabled people. We need neurodivergent people. And so my part is that I'm leaning into that neurodivergent piece, and I'm like, I want y'all to see the gifts here. Mm. I want you to see the strengths here. And I want you to know, and I even have a theory that most powerful leaders and thinkers that we praise within the community today, mm-hmm. all of them, mm-hmm. Audre Lorde, Maya Angelou, MLK, James Baldwin, I think today's his birthday, all of these powerful people mm-hmm. that we own in the world, Nelson Mandela, Fela Kuti, like everybody, I think they were neurodivergent.
Yeah.
It's just somehow they decided that their embarrassment was worth them pushing through and speaking on or presenting solutions to our communities, right? I think all of the greats that we celebrate today were neurodivergent. So how many more greats would we have if we were able to see the gift really early and start nurturing it?
I think when you have it, I don't love the word superpower when it comes to that, because I think sometimes, I don't like that. But it's strong ability. There's a strong talent and a strong ability in there, which,
especially if you find your lane of performance. Like, mm-hmm. It's so funny. I used to be so quiet. Because, like, on top of being a Black girl with ADHD, I was also a dark complected Black girl who had an estranged mother. It was just so many layers to my story that I got really, really small. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that now I realized one of my biggest gifts is my voice. So I was like, I need to be using the voice. So it's like, as long as everybody's able to find the lane that they can thrive in, that's to me when you have a little bit of a superpower. You're gonna have some struggles, you're gonna hit a few potholes, but you're gonna take off when you find alignment. Like when you get in alignment, things go fast. I mean, so I think everybody deserves to find out what alignment looks like for them. And you imagine that we've been building tables and telling people to get away from the table? That's why the table ain't really been growing. Exactly. You only had one type of person contributing to the table. And for the Black community, it's been like the educated. It's been like they would call the talented 10. We need everybody. I'm talking about whoever y'all feel is the highest of class society, all the way to the lowest class, to the lowest socioeconomic status.
What are some resources, whether it's books? You mentioned one book already that I'll be following up on, but whether it's books, podcasts, support groups that you know of, what are some resources you can recommend for Black and brown girls with ADHD?
For sure. My favorite book, hands down, I'm going to say it again, and it's probably over there on my desk, but it's called For Women with ADHD, A Guide to Radical Self-Acceptance. I think every woman, if they find out they have ADHD, should read it. Take it and it's a guide, right? So like you could read 1 or 2 chapters and that's enough for you to chew on, and then you can come back to it. You only have to read the whole thing. There's a young lady online, I can't remember her name right now, but the page is called How to ADHD.
Okay.
It's a YouTube channel. She does like short videos, 5 minutes or less. It's a lot of education there. So I think that people should consider that. And it's not necessarily like Black centered, but if you want just like language to your experiences, I think she does a great job with that. My favorite podcast, as I was like learning what was going on with me, was called Translating ADHD. Ooh. Okay. And Cameron got, and I can't remember the other young lady's name, when she actually has transitioned, so now it's a he. But the two of them taught me so much about not just the ADHD and the language and describing things, but like how does this show up in marriages? How does it show up at work and relationships? They do a good job kind of telling some of their client stories, and then it's really easy to apply it to your life. So that was called Translating ADHD, was one of my favorites. The last place that I will mention that I'm aware, I'm sure there's others, but I still believe in, I call them aunties now, but like Renee Brooks, Black Girl Lost Keys, existed before I ever even thought of Sistas With ADHD, and I learned a lot from her blog, and I got to meet her. She's just a very down to earth young lady. So I don't even know if she's still putting content out. Okay, but I'm sure what she has is still good. Yeah. But the number one space for Black women with ADHD in America is Sistas With ADHD. So come join the sisterhood. And it's so funny. It's so weird hearing me say that, but I'm like, it is though.
It is what it is.
My friends had to stop me. She said, you don't know how big you are. I said, what do you mean? She said, you don't know how big this has gotten. And she goes, I was in a Reddit group. She was on Reddit. And so she was like, so many people mentioned your space as how they get their resources. So she would just like, stop being humble. Yeah. She's the number one ADHD support group for Black women in America.
I literally call you famous. You're famous. You're known. You're recognized.
Every time people say that to me, I'm like, man, I gotta go to work on Monday.
Well, the way that you're going, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna manifest it. The way that you're going, you may not need. You're probably not gonna need that. Hey, no, I'm gonna do a little. Hey, it's speaking to me. Come and find me later when it happens. I'll be like, I told you.
It's funny. I didn't even say this, but I do want to say it. When I first started, I was like, okay, I want my space to be hood, holy, and hyper focused. That really is what I say on my podcast and everything. And by hood, I just meant that I wanted people to feel community when they got there. I wanted them to feel welcomed. And the thing is, when you center who's in the margin, everyone will feel included. You can be a white woman and come to Sistas With ADHD and still learn something. But the other way around might not be true. I wanted it to be holy because I am a Christian-based leader. I have went up and down with my faith majority of my life. I got baptized last December. And so I wanted to make sure that when I was guiding people, that God was speaking through me and that it was faith. Like to me, I like whatever you find holy is, but I never want people to limit how they find God. Yeah. How you find God is how you find God. If you're a spiritual person, then do that. If you go to church every Sunday, do that.
Mhm.
But I wanted there to be a sacred space for us to know that everything that we're centered was about who God created us to be. Whoever the creator made you to be, I want you to bring it up to your fullest self. And then hyper focus. Like I wanted to create a space for the girls who go through hyper focus, who get excited about something and lean in and go deep and learn. You know, they're the smartest ones in the room. They're the smartest one at the table. Why not? Why can't it be us?
And then the very last thing is, and we did a little bit of that, but where can my audience find you online?
Absolutely.
And then how can they support your initiative?
Good. Thank you so much for asking. So my personal, I am most active on my personal page.
Okay.
I stopped trying to get all these names and tropes. It's just Torrian Timms because that's who I am, right? And so that's where you'll see more behind the scenes about me as a Black woman with ADHD and how I navigate that.
Okay.
The Sistas With ADHD channel is on IG. It's on TikTok and YouTube.
Okay, it's on Facebook.
And then we have a Facebook group. So Facebook, you're just going to type in Sistas With ADHD.
Okay.
Sisters is SISTAS. It's spelled that way intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can even type in Black women with ADHD and it still will pop up.
Okay.
But a Facebook group is the most active space where people are actually communicating and talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 30,000 women in there. There's the IG space, also Sistas With ADHD. We're on Threads. Mm-hmm. I'm on TikTok as well. I'm not active.
Mm-hmm.
Sistas With ADHD is not very active on TikTok, but I am. So that is also Torrian Timms So those are all the places. And then support. There is a website right now. We are still going through our nonprofit onboarding. Mm-hmm. So that is there. We'll be able to start accepting donations and grants and things like that. So for now, if you want to support, we do have a Cash App, which is like $ Sistas Sists ADHD. You can always do a direct donation there. Okay. Or if you have a bigger idea in mind, one of the things I really want to start doing is like these community-based pop-ups in the city. Okay. I'm based in Texas, so like I can only do so much in Texas. But what if we had a community in Ohio? Community in Virginia? What if we had a community in Atlanta? So if that resonates with you and you want to do something bigger, shoot me an email at hello@sistaswithadhd.com.
Okay. You guys are going through. I love it. Anyone you shout out a couple of people, but anyone that comes to mind that you just want to
she popped in my head, so I'm gonna say something about it. But Courtney Grayton is a YouTube content creator. Okay. And before I created Sistas With ADHD, I would get on Twitter. Twitter used to have Twitter Spaces. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I remember.
I used to get on Twitter and I used to just yap. But I was yapping about being a Black woman with ADHD, and then all of a sudden, all these Black women started showing up. Mm-hmm. And Courtney supported me from day one. She was in the first spaces that I was in, and then she reached out to me, and I have seen that girl's YouTube channel grow from like 5,000 to like over 70,000. Wow. She's a loctician and hairdresser out in DC, and she's just one of my day one supporters that I just really love. And it's been nice to know that the resources that I offered and just her work has, she's been able to see the fruits of that. Okay. I have a partnership with ADHD Online.
Okay.
And so what they are offering our community, or what they offer, is asynchronous online assessment. And I think a lot of times we get on TikTok, we get on socials, we see a bunch of posts that resonate with us, and all of a sudden we think we have ADHD. Yeah. But really, really want to start supporting yourself and getting the resources in place at work, school, and wherever. Really need to have a diagnosis, and you need to have the paperwork for that. So my partnership with ADHD Online will allow you to take an asynchronous assessment. You can get your assessment. And so after you answer those questions, the doctors will reach out to you. They'll assess you. They say, yeah, you have ADHD, or no, you don't. If you do, they're going to give you all paperwork you would need to get accommodations at work, accommodations at school, so that you need your paper on. I'm just letting people know that that's available. So if you go to either my personal page or the Sistas With ADHD page, that link is there. And the code that's available, matter of fact, I'll offer it to your followers. Sistas 25 is the code for this year.
Okay, repeat it one more time.
Sistas 25. Okay. That'll get you like $30 off, I believe.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep. Other than that, does any of my day one, all my sisters in the Facebook group, Right, Nisha. It's just so many people that have really wrapped their hands around this work. So,
oh, thank God for that. Blessed.
yeah,
That's a blessing. Well, Torrian, that concludes our little interview today. Please keep doing the work because I know it saved me. It's helped me feel validated, and it really has helped inspire me to even start building my own community. So what you're doing, it's working. The advocacy, it is working, and it's helping us heal. It's helping me. It's all good. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, for your knowledge.
Thank you.
We'll be talking again.